7:06 on TSN 690. Welcome back to Game Points. I am your host, Matthew Ross. We're here till the top of the hour. That would be 8 o'clock. Game Points back with you late night on Tuesday night as well. GamePointsRadio.com is the blog. TSN Matthew on Twitter.com if you want to reach me. Mocon19 for him. We're ready now for our next guest. He is a Montrealer now living in Canada, Ontario, of course, right near Ottawa. He's involved in Little League Baseball over there, and he will be among a contingent of 56 people coming in from Ontario on a bus to the Saturday game next weekend at the Olympic Stadium for Blue Jays versus Mets. His name is Paul O'Kane. How you doing, Paul?
Hi, Matthew. How are you doing?
I'm very well. Thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Now, Paul, tell us about what precipitated this trip in next weekend, because this isn't, somebody jumping into a minivan with 5 or 6 people. This is a full bus. So what's behind it, and who are you guys that are coming in?
Well, I coach Little League in Canada, and I also sit on the executive board, so I've been fortunate enough to meet some really good people, and I became very good friends with a gentleman named Ben Wilson. Ben actually grew up in Utica, New York, and although he was a Brewers fan growing up, he made it to many Expo games. So when he broached the idea to me about a month and a half or 2 months ago, it was really a no-brainer, because I've always wanted my son to experience going to the Big O and see what I did growing up as a teenager. And it sold out fairly quickly, and we're just the kids just cannot wait to actually go see a major league game and be with a bunch of their friends and watching pros play this amazing game.
So you got a lot of fathers and sons type of deal on this bus?
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone on the trip plays ball. Has all the fathers are bringing their kids that play ball in Canada Little League, and they're going to range in ages from 10 to 13 or 14. There's about, I think at last count, there's 23 or 24 kids and 31 or 32 fathers that are making the trip, and many of them grew up as Expo fans. We have a couple that grew up in the Montreal area as well that had season ticket packages, and we're just, I think that some of the parents are more excited than the kids right now to get to go back there and watch game.
Well, that's very cool. And obviously out there, you guys are trying to get your own stadium, minor league stadium stuff done at some point to bring professional baseball back to Ottawa. And so this is something to get people in the spirit of things.
Yeah, oh, for sure. When the Lynx came into town in 1993, I was maybe a 3-minute drive from the stadium. And at the time when they came in, Lynx Stadium was state-of-the-art, and we were fortunate to see players that went through the system. I watched Derek Jeter play before he was even with, I think he was first-year pro, and he came in there and he played, and we got to see the Lynx actually win. I think it was the Intercounty or International Baseball League championship on a home run by Shane Andrews. So, there's a ton of Expo fans here that would love to see the game go back to Montreal, and again, we just cannot wait for this trip.
Mo?
My question to you is in regards to the Ottawa demographics. Is it more a Blue Jay town, or is there still a hardcore group of Expo fans that are obviously going to come to Montreal this weekend here, but still are in existence, though?
There is an absolute core of Expo fans here. There always has been. You see, every Friday night we run indoor skill sessions at a field house, and several of the volunteers who are in their late 40s or mid 40s, they're wearing Expo caps or T-shirts, and we sit around after the sessions and we talk about what it was like growing up in Montreal, or if they weren't from Montreal, watching the Expos on TV. And we're 10 years out of having baseball in Montreal, so we're about half a generation now of kids losing that opportunity to actually see the Expos play, and a lot of the parents tell their kids stories. We've told them stories about what it was like going to, especially for me, opening day. I went to 12 or 13 in a row and saw some pretty amazing things. Tim Raines coming back in 2001. I don't know if you remember a home run that Darryl Strawberry hit that didn't even go out of the park. It hit the middle of the ceiling in center field, and the umps called it a home run. And that's the first time it ever happened in a major league game. So a lot of great memories. And again, it's so I hope to garner a little bit of interest as well as Ben, and possibly we'll be able to do something in the summer, getting 1 or 2 buses to a Blue Jays game and wearing our Expo gear there as well.
Chatting with Paul O'Kane from Canada, as he will be with a contingent of 56 fathers, sons, and others to come to next Saturday's Blue Jays versus Mets game here in Montreal. Paul, you were telling me off air yesterday about a story involving your, encounter with Gary Carter the summer of 1981. If you could tell that to the listeners, that would be great.
Sure. So I grew up in the West Island of Montreal, and I caddied out of the Beaconsfield Golf Course. And I was caddying at the time for Dick Irvin, who used to do the broadcast for the Canadians. And we were at a a Pro-Am golf tournament at Summerlee. It was the Pro-Am for the Des Maurier Classic. And Mr. Irvin, he introduced me to Gary at the time, and Dick said that Gary was going to be golfing at Beaconsfield the following week, and would I be available to caddy for him. And this was right around maybe a week or two after the strike hit in 1981. So Gary actually did quite a bit of golfing, and I had the opportunity to caddy for him several times. And the really cool thing, a sad story in a sense as well, my father had passed away suddenly, and if you know the history of Carter, he was a very religious man, and my mother was a devout Roman Catholic, and he heard about the fact that my father had passed away. So we just finished a round of golf, and there's Don Sweet and Sam Echeverry as part of the foursome as well. And Gary asked me for my home phone number, and he called my mom just to talk to her for a little bit, and said that you know he was thinking about her, and he sent her his condolences to her. Then after the phone call, he threw me the keys to his car, and he said, grab a couple of balls and a bat out of the trunk, brought them up, and he autographed one. Actually, Don Sweet, Echeverry, and Gary autographed a baseball for my mother, and then the three of them autographed a ball for me as well as a bat. So it's pretty cool. You're a starstruck 17-year-old, and one of your heroes is calling your house to talk to your mom. It was a pretty great experience.
Paul O'Kane from Canada, Ontario. You'll be here next week. What are you most looking forward to about coming back to Montreal, a place where you grew up, and also to the Olympic Stadium?
Just the experience. We're leaving early. I know that I've heard that the doors open around 11 o'clock. So we're hoping to be there right at 11 so we can watch the warm-up. We can have the kids hopefully go down just either by the third base or first line, and hopefully have an opportunity to interact with the players the same way that I did when I would go to games, and hopefully give them an experience where they're going to remember this and want to go back again. And that's a big thing for me. As a fan itself, I'm sure as soon as I go into the stadium, it's going to be automatic that I'm going to think about a bunch of games that I attended there, and I can't wait. I can't wait. I love hockey, but baseball has always been my passion.
Paul, thank you so much for your time, and looking forward to possibly meeting you next weekend.
Matthew, thank you very much for having me on, and congratulations with all your work with the Expos, and hopefully bringing them back one day. It's awesome to see such great interest in that team still going on in Montreal and hopefully in Ottawa.
Well, thank you so much, Paul. I really appreciate it. That's Paul O'Kane from Canada Minor League Baseball. It is Game Points here on TSN 690. Other side of the break, it might get your blood boiling. It might make you scream, yell, or punch something. What is it? Well, you'll find out on the other side. It's Game Points.
They got long. The game against the Braves, Cliff Floyd going long. Still missing Montreal ball 6 years on. Yeah, sometimes you don't know what you got.